Homemade sofritas, my friends. If you've ever been to a Chipotle restaurant, you've seen they have a vegan option that is essentially tofu that's cooked up with a Mexican-style sauce that's huge on flavor, lots of Chipotle flavor, and lots of seasonings. Well, this is my homemade version that really ups those flavors and makes it bold and absolutely delicious. So let me show you how to make it. So the base flavor for our homemade sofrita sauce is some dried Mexican chili peppers, and I have 2 ancho peppers and 2 guajillo peppers. You can use more if you want to, but this will add a real nice flavor base to it. So the first thing you want to do is you want to just remove the stems from your peppers and kind of knock out the seeds. And a lot of times you'll just fall right out. But if they don't, you can kind of rip them open and just kind of pull them apart here. Like this one's fine, no seeds. Got a few seeds in here, kind of pull them out. Oh, there they go. You see all those seeds? The seeds are edible, but some people find them bitter. So I like to remove them, and the flavor will be a little bit better, in my opinion, without the seeds in this. And if you're having a hard time kind of removing everything, you can also use a pair of kitchen scissors that'll just kind of a little slice down the middle, or a knife is fine, and just kind of get it sliced open and knock them out there, like so. All right, these are deseeded and stemmed, so let's go ahead and toast them up. I've set up a pan here to about medium heat. You go medium to medium-high heat, not too hot though. And go ahead and set your chili peppers into the pan. You're gonna dry toast them. We're not using any oil here. Just about a minute or maybe 2 per side, because you're gonna get those that skin a little bit puffed up and release some of those oils. And that's going to make for some little extra delicious flavor. You can skip this step if you want to, but I always feel that the toasting the peppers lightly does bring out some extra flavor. So a little extra step for you, but well worth it. All right, let me give these a flip. Oh, yep, you can see that they're loosening up, darkening a little bit. They might puff up a little bit. But again, this does add a nice little extra flavor, and definitely well worth it. But just be careful, don't char them, because then they'll get extra bitter. So you really just want a little bit. All right, so these are nice and lightly toasted. So I'm gonna go ahead and move them over to a glass bowl. And you're just gonna go ahead and cover the peppers with some very hot water, like so. And we're gonna let that steep for about 20 minutes or so until the peppers get super soft, and they'll be a lot easier to puree and work with, and they'll make an amazing sauce. All right, let's cook up some vegetables here for additional flavor base. I've got a good-sized pan heated up to a medium heat, and I'm just gonna add a little bit of olive oil. Kind of swirl it in there. And I have about a good-sized white onion, and a yellow onion, totally fine here as well. Gonna cook that down a bit. And I have 1 jalapeno. And you can use more if you want to, and definitely go hotter if you want. Serranos are always great here. I kind of often use a mix. Depends on who I'm cooking for. So go ahead and cook this down for about 5 minutes or so till it's nicely softened up. And smells good. I love it. Okay, these peppers and onions have softened up nicely. So next we're going to go ahead and add some garlic. I've got a couple, 2 to 3 cloves of garlic in here. But you can really use as much as you want to, because it's garlic, my friends. You cook with your heart with that one. So I've got this set into the pan and cook it for about 30 seconds to a minute, or until you can smell the gorgeous garlic bloom in the room. Deliciousness. I love it. And just go ahead and set this aside into a bowl, or just pop it right into the food processor. All right, I've got my sauce making station all set up with all my ingredients ready here. So get yourself a food processor. You don't need a large one, or a blender works totally fine here. And here I have my cooked onions, pepper, and garlic. Just go ahead and set this into the food processor, like so. Set this aside. And I have my softened dried pods that I lightly toasted. So you're gonna drain this, or just kind of, take them out of the water here. Set it into the food processor like so. And you can save some of the soaking water if you want to, thin out your sauce a little bit. But notice the color on this. It's gotten to be a nice dark color. A lot of the nutrients are still in there from the peppers themselves, but it also is a little slightly bitter for some people. So if you want to thin it out, you can use this or just use fresh water. So for now, I'm just going to go ahead and dump this, set aside. And I also have some chipotles and adobo sauce. Usually a can comes in, I believe, about 7 ounces or so. I'm using half a can. I've got 3 chipotles and adobo with a little bit of the adobo sauce. And this adds a nice smoky flavor, nice tangy. I just love chipotle flavor. It's so delicious. Yum. All right, into the food processor. And I have about a teaspoon of cumin. I lightly toasted some fresh cumin seeds and ground them up myself, but you can buy ground cumin. It's delicious. And a bit of salt and pepper, really salt to taste. A couple grinds for myself. If you want pepper, why not? A little pepper. It's really to your personal taste. And I also like to include hot sauce. So this is where you can really make it your own. You can really shine. Go with a spicy heat level that you're looking for. I like the homemade sauces. I've got like a homemade red serrano sauce that I made from my garden. I have a homemade Tabasco style sauce from Tabasco's I made. I threw a little 7-pot chili in there to add some blooming extra hot heat for myself. Or the sauce that I just made, and I shot a video for this last week. This is pure heat 7-pot, crazy awesome super hot sauce that you can splash a little in there. So Patty, what do you think? Should I use the 7-pot hot sauce today?
Don't even think about it.
All right. Today we'll be using Serrano hot sauce, my friends. A really hot sauce to taste if you want to go crazy. Just don't kill anybody. So just a little bit of hot sauce. Make it your own. Make it your own. And I'm going to go ahead and process this until nice and smooth. So let's get it processed up. All right. Yep, so you can see how thick this is right now. It's not as thin as I'd like it to be. It's quite a thick paste right now. So I want to thin this out a little bit. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of water, a little bit of fresh water. I got some here from my used Chipotle bowl. And I probably did maybe a 1/4 cup at the most. I'm gonna go ahead and add this in and just process it again and keep adding more liquid and process until you get it to a consistency that you're looking for, nice and saucy. All right. Oh yes, perfect. You can see a nice consistency to this, more saucy. You know, it's definitely thinned out. And at this point, you can strain your sauce to thin it out a little bit more, get rid of any of those leftover kind of hard bits of dried skin that didn't get processed. But I processed the heck out of this, and it's nice and smooth. So, all right, I've got my sauce made, and now let's work on the tofu. All right, I've got my Chipotle sauce all set up and ready. And this recipe is actually fairly similar in flavor to chicken tinga, which is like a Chipotle chicken flavor. But this is a vegan or a vegetarian recipe. So instead of any kind of meat, we are using tofu. And you can make this with pretty much any kind of tofu. Use your favorites. I usually use extra firm tofu. But the thing about tofu is, unless you're using like a dried tofu, there's a lot of moisture to it. So what I like to do is, I'll slice it up here. I'm going to slice it into several pieces here. All right. I'm going to set these kind of in a little bit of a row. I'm going to top them with some paper towels. It's going to help soak up some of the moisture, because you want to get a lot of the moisture taken out if you can, or really if it's more to preference, and that's going to help with the overall texture of it to make it more crumbly. But you can skip this step if you want to and make them, softer. That's totally fine. I've got this covered with paper towels, soak up the moisture, and grab something kind of heavy like a cast iron pan or a pot, and I'm just going to set this on top of my tofu, and that's going to go ahead and press out some of the moisture, kind of to my preference. And I actually usually do this while I'm softening the peppers to make my sauce, so you can save a little bit of time and do it that way. So, all right, let's come back when this is nice and pressed. All right, I got my tofu prepared to my satisfaction here. So the next, get the same pan that you used earlier, heat it up to a good medium to medium-high heat. And we're gonna add some olive oil, if you need to. A bit of olive oil. And I'm gonna heat this up a little bit. All right, got the pan nice and hot with some oil. And we're gonna go ahead and sear the tofu. I'm gonna cook these just a couple minutes per side, get them nice and browned. And you can cook them longer if you'd like. It really just depends on your overall desired texture. So I'm gonna get a good browning on these. Into the hot pan they go. All right, let's see how they look after a couple minutes. All right, let me flip the tofu. Oh, look at the color on these babies. Oh yes, they look good. So all right, these are flipped and I'm gonna keep them cooking for another few minutes, get them browned on both sides, and then deliciousness coming up. All right, my friends, I have been searing down my tofu for several minutes here, so I get them nicely browned. And you can keep going to your personal preference. You can cook out a lot of that moisture, but I've got them nicely browned, pretty much how I like it and how Patty likes it. So the next step then is to lower the heat just a bit. And you can go ahead and break up your tofu with a wooden spoon, like so. Just kind of break it apart. This is going to be, sort of your overall texture. All right, breaking this down a little bit. So next, go ahead and pour in your reserved chipotle sauce here. And if you need a little bit more liquid at this point, you can still add just a little bit of water or even stock. Some vegetable stock would be nice. So get that mixed in. Set your bowl aside and just go ahead and stir it all together. And we're going to go ahead and just simmer this over a sort of more of a low heat. Good simmer for about 20 minutes. And we're going to let the tofu absorb all of this amazing, amazing flavor. And boom, we're just going to enjoy the heck out of some homemade sofritas. All right, while these homemade sofritas are simmering, let's talk about the sauce a little bit. There are different ways that you can make this sauce. You can use other dried chili peppers, other dried Mexican pods. Sometimes I like to add a little bit of chile de árbol, which have a nice blooming heat, so you can up that heat factor a bit. Roasted poblanos are actually super popular with this. I love roasted poblanos. You can roast them up and toss them into the food processor along with everything else, and that'll add just yet another depth of flavor. Super popular, but once you kind of learn how to make this overall base, you can start playing around with it and mix and match and experiment to really make it your own. Yes, look at this texture, nice and chunky. It's so much like you get in the restaurant with just a few of my extra flavors. Hey, when you're ready to serve your homemade sofritas, there's really a lot of different ways you can serve this. You can serve it like in the restaurant as kind of a homemade sofritas bowl over rice with some salsas and lots of different fixins like avocado, some cooked corn, lots of hot sauce. Serve it as a salad. It's great on tacos. Serve it up as a burrito, big wrap it up, just deliciousness. Or a lot of times I like to just go ahead and garnish it right in the pan and serve it along with some warm tortillas, and people can kind of make their own, and it's absolutely delicious and feeds a crowd. Very easy to make too, isn't it? Homemade sofritas, my friends. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did learn something from cooking with me today, I'd love to hear your comments down below. Give us a like. And hey, if you love the flavors of Chipotle, this sauce is pretty similar to chicken tinga, which is a Mexican Chipotle chicken. It's absolutely delicious, and I will queue up that video next for you. But hey, I hope you follow us. Great cooking with you, and I will see you in the kitchen next time. Time for a taste. Mm-hmm. Yes. Big, bold flavor. I'm telling you, homemade is always best. Delicious.